Hello, and welcome to Working with Piecewise Functions. I'd like to begin by pointing out that I simply scanned a problem directly from the textbook. You can see it right down here below the home screen of the application, and it's a piecewise function, and I would like to just read through the function and understand what it's telling me, and then we'll move on to using the app to calculate the solutions. First of all, I see that this is a function. The variable is x, and it's defined in these two pieces. The top piece is 6x minus 1 if x is less than 0. And what that means is if you're on the left side of 0, as you look at the Cartesian axis, if you're on the left side of 0, then the function you're going to see is 6x minus 1. And this is the function anywhere below or less than 0. However, if you cross the y-axis and move over to the right side of 0, including 0, that means including right on top of the y-axis, the function you should see is 7x plus 3. So in essence, what has happened is we're going to divide the screen into two parts, a left part and a right part. The left part being defined here by this statement, x is less than 0, and the right part of the function being defined by this statement, x is greater than or equal to 0. We're trying to find three separate answers. The first answer is to find the value of the function when x is negative 3. Part B is to find the value of the function when x is 0. And part C is to find the value of the function when x is 4. So now I'm going to go to the app. I'm going to click on Equations and Graphs. And this will bring me to the function input editor. And if I click on the spinner, you'll see one of the options is piece, and that's just short for piecewise. So as soon as I click on that, it gives me the place to put in the piece. So the first piece I want to put in is 6x minus 1. Okay, I put that part in. And now I'm going to use this statement, x is less than 0, to define where x is defined. See here it says x is greater than something and x is less than something. Well, x is greater than, in theory, if x is less than 0, that means all the way to negative infinity, all the way going to the left. However, I don't need to see all of that on my calculator, so if I just go to minus 10, that's plenty far enough. And that's where x is going to be between negative 10 and, of course, this side should be the 0. So let me go back and change that and put in a 0. Now one thing you're going to notice is that these little buttons here toggle between less than and less than or equal to. And that's of course going to go by this little statement right here. You see the 6x minus 1 has a strict inequality. That's when x is less than 0. So I have to make sure it says x is less than 0 here. Now I want to add the second part of the function. So I'm going to go down here to y2 and choose piece, which is this. Now this is the second piece, and so I'm going to enter my function 7x plus 3, 7x plus 3, and again this is when x is greater than or equal to 0. So let's see, when x is greater than or equal to, and this side needs to be the 0. Okay, and again in theory, when it says greater than or equal to 0, that means all the way to positive infinity. But I don't need to look that far. In fact, it won't help me at all. As long as I look out past 4, I'm going to see everything I need to see. And so here I have the top piece. Let me just pull this down a little bit. Here I have the top piece defined. I have the boundaries for the domain set. I have the second piece defined, and I have the boundaries for the domain set. So all that I have to do now is just graph this function. So I'm going to graph the function. Here you can see here is my function. The left part is this line down here in the blue, and the right part is the line up here in yellow. So it is split right down y equals 0, which is the y-axis. And now to get these three answers, I simply go to the calculations menu, and I want to evaluate. And the first thing I need to know is when x is negative 3, so I just touch in the box here and put in negative 3. So let's see, negative 3, here we go. And I can see when x is negative 3, that the blue function, that's the one I need, is negative 19. Of course, the yellow function is not defined because the yellow function is the 7x plus 3, and that's only defined when x is greater than or equal to 0. Of course, negative 3 is less than 0, so the only one that should have an answer is the negative 19, and that's exactly what happened here. So the answer for part A would be negative 19. Now for B, I simply change this value here to 0, hit calculate, and you see now the blue line says not defined, and that's because if you look at our function, you see that x and 0 should be defined for the second function. X is greater than or equal to 0, so that includes 0. The first function, the blue one, does not include 0, so there should be no answer for the blue part, and that's what we have here. There should be an answer only for the second part, and that's what we have. So the answer for part B would be the number 3. Moving on to part C, I simply change this value one more time to the number 4, calculate. Once again, you'll see that I don't have any answer for the blue line, and I don't expect any answer for the blue line because it's only defined for numbers that are less than 0. 4 is greater than 0, so the answer for part C is 31. So this ends the session on using a piecewise function.